Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here once again with another video on the Arrowverse DCTV, and just something that I wasn't expecting about talking, or I wasn't expecting to talk about, but then stuff came out, and as you'd expect, it makes you talk about it. So that's where we are right now. So with Superman and Lois coming to an end at the end of this year, that will mark the end of DC's reign on the CW. Most of that time dominated by the Arrowverse, which of course started with Arrow all the way back in 2012. And I think most of us would agree that the peak of the Arrowverse, or the climax if you want to put it, whatever you want to call it, was with Crisis on Infinite Earths, or the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover back in the end of 2019 and start of 2020. Of course, the first 3 episodes aired in 2019. We took that break, which is, we're like, oh, what a cliffhanger. And then we got the last 2 episodes at the beginning of 2020. Now, there has been a debate whether a movie set within the Arrowverse would work as a theatrical release. Maybe not super wide, where it's like, it gets the same amount of screens as like, I don't know, like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes or like some of those movies. But, just a decent release with a decent budget, and like maybe even like a somewhat worldwide release where releases in different countries. Many do think it would be profitable and work depending on the budget, and also it would just depend what the story is, I guess, that you'd include in the film. And I mean, there was a Sopranos prequel movie not too long ago, and then there's various other movies that are attached to TV shows, where they're sequels or prequels or continuations that have been released before that and after it as well. But there's never been a ridiculous push, at least with the people that matter, I think, for an original Arrowverse film to be released, so doing something that they might have had planned for the Flash season 10 or whatever the next crossover would have been, then they make it into a film. I don't think there's been like that big of a push to do something like that. But over the past couple of days, hopefully from when I released this video, something interesting came out for plans for a theatrical release from the Arrowverse that was cancelled at the time, but there is still maybe a slither of hope that it could still happen. It just depends how things roll, I guess. Now, we are getting this information via former Arrow showrunner, that being Mark Guggenheim, who also served as the showrunner, I guess you would call it, for Crisis on Infinite Earths on the CW. Like, that wasn't the official title. Like, he wasn't the Crisis showrunner, I guess, but he was, like, he didn't say that like on the credits or anything like that, but he was the lead producer of it and was organizing it and all of that. Like, he was the brains behind what we saw on screen for the most part. Now, via Mark's weekly newsletter, where he did open up on a couple of different things regarding Crisis, firstly on some deleted scenes, which we had sort of known about, but he opened up a bit more of why they were deleted and everything like that. And secondly, on the thing we talked about earlier about the Arrowverse in theaters. So let's read what he had to say, starting with some stuff on deleted scenes. First, there weren't all that many complete scenes that ended up on the cutting room floor. To my recollection, there were mainly 2 scenes that were excised entirely. In hour 1, we cut a short scene with Pariah, aka, or formerly known as Nash Wells, witnessing the destruction of Argo City. And you can see on screen the part from the script where it says a hooded figure calmly walks between the fleeing citizens. Civilians might say, it's Pariah. Once Nash Wells, he looks tortured, talks to an unseen force, as if talking to a god. There is no reward. This is punishment. These aren't victories. Damn it. These are tragedies. Innocent people are dying. Now, the funny thing around this, I mean, the scene isn't that funny, it's people dying. But the thing around this is that this is actually in one of the trailers, from what we know. There was a shot in the trailer of Pariah with like a red sky behind him, and it wasn't in the actual final thing of Crisis. So many people think it's from this scene. Most likely is, I guess. I don't know if Mark didn't really open up that like that was the thing that was in that trailer. But yeah, I'm assuming this was that scene. The second scene in hour 3 was admittedly harder to cut. It was a tag at the end of the episode which saw Oliver Queen turning into the Spectre. Now, we had seen, once again, like this deleted scene, I think we'd seen part of it, I think, or something like that, or we'd heard some stuff about it. But this, I think, would have been a really cool way to end the episode, but he does actually sort of talk about why he decided to delete it. Now, this is obviously a critical, important scene, even more so when you consider that it's not just the end of hour 3, but also the end of the first half of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and the event would go on a mini hiatus for the holidays between hours 3 and 4. Unfortunately, however, the quality of the finished scene as shot was inversely proportional to its importance. In other words, it came out really, in my estimation, poorly, and I made the difficult decision to not air a substandard version. than to show it, which I can completely understand. You sometimes see not only just maybe like other parts of the Arrowverse and stuff like that, but other TV shows, you'll have a very important scene or even a movie where the script is really good and it's just not delivered well, but maybe they just have to work with that, but it's also important to the thing. I think Crisis works without this scene, but also having this scene, if it was, I guess it turned out how they wanted it to turn out, would have been really, really cool and elevated it a bit. But that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Sometimes things just don't work as you'd expect. Now, these two deleted scenes, we had sort of referenced them before, but obviously, as I said, Mark puts a bit more context behind it, or actually shows us the stuff here. So, yeah, as we can talk about it a bit there. The only one that, I think that second one, which sort of, I guess, plays into what Mark was saying as well, I think that would have been the better one to include. I think the only reason the first one is weird is because it was in the trailer, and I think it was just because you got to remember especially that first episode where that that scene with Pariah is in. There's so much going on. There's so much going on in that first episode that maybe they just thought we don't need this. We don't need this, and also we do see because Clark and Lois I think are on Argo, and you already get a bit of Argo, and then they fly their son off. So we already got a bit of that. So I guess we didn't need to see another angle from Argo City. I guess that's the way to look at it. But this is where Mark then did open up about another big thing that could have happened regarding Crisis involving movie theaters. So he says, I don't believe this is publicly known, again, statute of limitations, but we had been working with Warner Brothers to release all 5 hours, so all 5 episodes, but I guess all put together, of Crisis in movie theaters across the country. So just the United States, unfortunately. The event, arranged through Fathom Events, was going to include special surprises like cast appearances and giveaways, and we'd also cut together a few bonuses that would have been screened in between episodes. And yes, they would have included the deleted scenes with all the VFX completed, the sound mixed, and the picture color time that I'd mentioned. At this point, you're probably wondering why this event did not go forward. Well, the answer to that is that it was scheduled for April 2020. COVID ruins everything, and that's probably a good way to end off that thing. COVID did ruin a lot of different things, didn't it? Now, the interesting thing around that, it being in April 2020, is that would have been around the time that the shows would have been wrapping up their respective seasons. So I think Legends probably would have been done, and then maybe one of the other 3 or 4 shows would have wrapped up their season as well by that point. So that just felt like a really good way to do it. And also because it was spread out in regards to when it was televised and everything like that, having it as this one big thing in theaters, I think would have been really cool. Now, they do say all 5 hours. So I don't know if that's a 5-hour marathon just in the one day. I guess it would be, unless you did it I guess how maybe it was televised. You 3 hours on one day, on the weekend, a Saturday and Sunday. You do 3 hours on the Saturday, 2 hours on the Sunday, and then maybe that Sunday has an hour Q&A with any cast members that go there and stuff like that. I don't know how you would handle it. I'm not the event organizer or the event organizer who was organizing it back then potentially. But this idea did sound cool. Now, the thoughts around it, could this still happen? Because the response to this was well, why couldn't you still make it happen? And the thing is that you could easily do it. It sounded like it was all clear. It sounded like Warner Brothers was sweet with it. It sounds like all the people involved with it were sweet with it. It's just that COVID happened and everything was closed down. So it sounds like people were for it. So it sort of does make you wonder, why couldn't you just have it happen now? And you might be wondering, can you do it in May of 2024? I would say no, but guess what next year is? The 5-year anniversary of Crisis. So if we get to January of next year, that would mark 5 years, or you could even do it in April of next year, April 2025, and it would mark the 5-year anniversary as well. I think that would be a decent time to do it. Now, Warner Brothers would still have to clear it, but as I said, it seemed like they were very sweet with it at the time, back in 2020, so you think they'd be sweet with it now. Obviously, there is different ownership and stuff like that, but if it's for a one weekend event, they'd be fine with it. If they get money from it, they'd be sweet with it. Now, Mark Guggenheim and Belanti themselves, they just wouldn't be able to screen it, I don't think, so they probably need that clearance, or at least they wouldn't be able to do it in multiple places at the very least. And I think if you did this event, I think you would probably want to do it where, obviously they said it was going to be across the country initially. So that doesn't mean I think every city, but I think you'd probably do it in some major hub locations. So LA, New York, somewhere in Texas, maybe Florida. Florida's usually a big one when they do these events. Yeah, just Seattle, big cities like that. That's probably where they would do this thing. But then again, it might just be across a specific theater chain, like an AMC or whatever it might be. They choose a specific theater chain, and then they're the ones that get in certain, just one theater in or one AMC theater in each certain city gets this thing, and they do it. That'd be a pretty cool way to do it. But also, it's serving as like an Arrowverse reunion of sorts in different cities sounds pretty cool, especially for fans that would be able to attend, especially if they went through the same thing where there would be, I guess, the cast appearances, but also like giveaways and put those bonuses like the deleted scenes and it all cut together in like one big event film would be pretty cool to watch. And if you think about it, it'd work really well if it's easy, like let's say it's beginning of next year, it'd work really well with like the end of Superman and Lois, which would mark the end of DC on the CW, because that's probably going to air its final episode. You'd think by the end of this year, unless they really do stretch it out into the really early parts of next year, but it'd be done by April if they did it then, or even March or February or something like that. So you could have it then. That could be like almost like a big extravagant bow, if you want to put it, on not only the Arrowverse, but DC on the CW as a whole, that you do this sort of like movie event thing. I think that'd be pretty cool. Actually, the more I talk about it, the more I theorize how they could do it, the more I'm like, it seems like such a stupid idea not to do it. It seems like such an easy way to do it. And do it. What are they doing? I'm not even in America. I wouldn't be able to go watch it. But I'm like, why wouldn't you do it? That sounds like such an easy thing to do. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. You could drop a like on it, show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this. Would you go to this if you were not only in the United States, but I guess also in like one of those bigger locations like LA, New York, places like that? Would you go to this thing if they held it? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you really want to see it, go to Mark Guggenheim and say, yo, what the hell? You really should try and do this again. I don't know. That's up to you if you want to go to his Twitter and say that. But yeah, let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.